He dropped to one knee with a diamond ring in his hand. And I already knew it was fake. Not the ring, the entire proposal. Every word, every smile, every ounce of emotion he tried to fake on that rooftop. I'd already seen through all of it. My name is Hannah. And what I'm about to tell you isn't just a breakup story. It's a war story. And I didn't come out of it broken. I came out of it better. But to understand how I got there, we have to go back. To the beginning. To the man I once thought I'd spend the rest of my life with. To the lies I almost believed. And to the moment I stopped being the girl he could walk over. And became the woman he would never forget. His name was Tyler. Tall, charismatic, with that kind of effortless charm that made people lean in when he spoke. The kind of guy who could talk a cop out of a ticket or convince a waiter to bring us a dessert we didn't order. I met him at a mutual friend's birthday dinner. He sat across from me, made a comment about how I held my wine glass, and somehow I laughed. It was fast with him. Effortless. Dangerous in the way it made me ignore things I shouldn't have. We started dating 3 weeks after that dinner. By month 2 he had a drawer at my apartment. By month 5 we were saying I love you. Looking back, I think I fell in love with the idea of Tyler more than the man himself. He was impressive. Everyone liked him. My parents said he seemed grounded. My friends were jealous of how thoughtful he was. They didn't see what I started to see, slowly, quietly, when no one else was around. Like how he always kept his phone on silent and face down. Or how he flinched when I picked it up even just to hand it to him. Or how he was always so good at explaining away inconsistencies. Too good. But I didn't question him at first. I told myself I was just being paranoid. That I'd been hurt before. That this time was different. And it was. Just not in the way I thought. It started with a name. A single name that popped up on his Apple Watch one night while we were cooking dinner. I didn't mean to snoop. He was chopping vegetables, his watch buzzed, and I glanced down by reflex. Jess. No last name. Just that. And a heart emoji. It could have been a friend. Cousin. I wanted to believe that. So I didn't say anything. But once your brain starts to ask questions, it doesn't stop. You notice things. Like how he started staying out later with vague explanations. How his gym bag always smelled like cologne, not sweat. How he changed his passcode. I told myself not to jump to conclusions. But then, he went on a guy's trip to Chicago. And I saw the receipt. A boutique hotel. 2 guests. 1 king bed. When he got home I waited. I gave him a chance to come clean. I asked him how the trip was. He smiled, kissed me on the forehead and said, "Good. Uneventful. Just the guys hanging out." That night when he went to take a shower I unlocked his iPad. The one he forgot was still synced to his phone. What I found made my hands go numb. Messages from Jess. Photos. Videos. A calendar invite for a weekend in Napa, during our anniversary week. And then, the worst part. Voice notes. I heard his voice. Sweet-talking someone else. Calling her babe. Telling her I was just a roommate, that we were basically over. I sat there in the dark listening to the man I loved lie with such ease. My heart didn't break. It calcified. And right then I knew. I wasn't going to confront him. I wasn't going to cry or scream or throw his clothes out the window. I was going to say yes. To everything. To the fake smiles, the planned vacations, the sweet nothings. Because he had no idea that I knew. And if I played this right, he'd never see it coming. Over the next 2 months I played the role of the perfect girlfriend. I laughed at his jokes. I made dinner. I let him think he was still winning. And every day I collected evidence. I backed up every message. Saved every photo. Transferred a photographer hiding in the corner, pretending to take food shots. I saw him reach for his pocket and knew. This was it. He dropped to one knee. Opened the box. The ring sparkled. The photographer clicked. And I smiled. I said yes. I kissed him like I meant it. I cried like I was overwhelmed with joy. I posted the photo to Instagram with the caption. Forever starts now, ring red heart. Over 300 likes in an hour. Comments flooding in. People cheering us on. He had no idea that the woman hugging him wasn't thinking about wedding dresses or flower arrangements. He was thinking about ruin. About justice. About the exact moment she would tear the mask off him in front of everyone he cared about. That night, after we got home, he passed out drunk from celebration. I sat on the couch with a glass of wine and rewatched the screen recordings. The voice notes. The texts. They didn't hurt anymore. They fueled me. He gave me the perfect setting. The perfect illusion. And I was about to burn it all down. But not yet. There were 3 weeks until the engagement party. And he had no idea I had invited her. 3 weeks. That's how long I had until the engagement party. 3 weeks to smile. To play fiancé. To lie without flinching. But more importantly, 3 weeks to prepare the stage for what would be the single most important performance of my life. I knew what kind of man Tyler was now. A man who loved being admired. He fed on validation like it was oxygen. So if I was going to crush him, I had to give him everything he wanted. Right before I took it all away. The day after the proposal, I started planning the party like the good little bride-to-be. I posted more engagement photos, showed off the ring, and answered every comment with the same sugary tone. Tyler was glowing. He soaked it all in. He'd scroll through the comments on his phone and read them out loud. You guys are perfect together. Can't wait for the wedding. Couple goals. And every time he read them, I'd kiss his cheek and say, told you people love us. But privately I was building my guest list. One name at a time. And at the very top of that list was her. Kiss. The woman who'd been sleeping with my fiancé. The woman he'd taken to Napa. The woman he told I was just his roommate. I knew where she worked. I knew her Instagram. I even knew her Starbucks order. She worked in PR. Perfect. She'd never resist a high-profile engagement invite, especially if she thought she was special enough to be included. So I created a fake account. A planner named Emily Hart. Sent her a DM. Hi Jess. I'm organizing a private engagement celebration for Hannah and Tyler. It's a surprise from their friends. We'd love to have you there. It's going to be small and elegant. Dress code, formal. Let me know if you can attend. She replied in under 10 minutes. OMG yes. That's so sweet. I'll definitely come. Don't tell Tyler I'm coming. Want to surprise him. Waking face. I laughed out loud. Actually laughed. He still didn't know. She really believed she was part of some twisted love triangle instead of what she truly was. The tool. The party was set for a Saturday night, at a private rooftop lounge downtown. One of Tyler's favorite places. It overlooked the skyline, had custom cocktails, a built-in AV setup, and enough space to host everyone who mattered to him. His parents. His college buddies. His boss. And Jess. I spent the week before it smiling through dress fittings and food tastings. Tyler, of course, didn't lift a finger. He said he trusted my taste. All he did was send the occasional guest name and show up to take credit when people praised us online. The night before the party, he brought home champagne and whispered, "Tomorrow's going to be magical." I kissed him back and thought, you have no idea. The day of the party, I woke up early. I got my makeup done professionally. Hair curled into soft waves. A white fitted cocktail dress. Bridal enough to make people swoon but short enough to make him proud to show me off. Tyler looked like a GQ model. Black suit. Custom watch. Cocky smile. We took an Uber to the venue together. He held my hand the whole ride, kissed it between red lights. And I smiled. I always smiled. Even when my stomach twisted. Not from guilt. From anticipation. The rooftop was glowing. Candles flickered on every table. Fairy lights lined the railings. The playlist I'd chosen drifted through the space. Soft, romantic, cinematic. People started arriving. Tyler played the host, hugging everyone, cracking jokes. His mom cried when she saw us. His friends brought champagne. And then 15 minutes in, she arrived. Kiss. She wore a red dress. Bold, skin-tight, absolutely confident. She walked in like she belonged there. I watched from across the room as her eyes searched the crowd. And when they landed on Tyler, her entire face changed. She didn't smile. She didn't wave. She froze. Because Tyler wasn't alone. He was kissing me. Right in front of her. In front of everyone. I waited. Watched. Timed it. Then I broke the kiss and waved her over. Jess. You made it. Her expression was a mix of shock and forced grace. She walked over slowly. Hi. I wasn't sure if I should. Oh, don't be silly, I said sweetly. You're exactly who I wanted to see tonight. Tyler turned, about to speak, and then he saw her. His face went pale. Just for a second. Then he smiled like he was confused, like he had no idea what was happening. Jess? What are you doing here? I was invited, she said. The planner reached out. Planner, he echoed. Emily, she said. Emily Hart? I stepped between them. Oh, right. About that. I smiled. Pulled the mic from the DJ booth. Tapped it. Everyone, can I have your attention for a second? The crowd quieted. Glasses stopped clinking. Tyler stepped back unsure. Thank you all for coming tonight to celebrate our engagement. It really means the world to us. But there's something I need to share. A little story. I looked at Tyler. It starts with a guy I loved. A guy who told me I was his whole world. Who said he wanted forever with me. Who asked me to be his wife. I turned to Jess. And also told another woman I was just his roommate. A stunned murmur spread. Jess's mouth opened, closed, then opened again. Tyler stepped forward. Hannah, stop. What are you doing? Oh, don't worry, I said. I'm just getting started. I reached behind the bar and pulled out a remote. Pressed play. The big screen behind us flickered on. And started playing the first screen recording. His texts. His voice notes. His photos. His lies. The room was dead silent. Every secret he thought he buried, playing on loop in high definition. He looked at me, then at the crowd, then back again. You set me up. I smiled. I accepted your proposal, Tyler. I didn't say yes to marrying you. I said yes to finishing this. I turned to the guests. Feel free to enjoy the open bar. And for those wondering, yes, we're no longer engaged. I dropped the mic on the table, picked up my clutch, and walked past Jess without a word. She didn't follow. No one did. Except the photographer, who snapped a picture of me walking out, head high, back straight. The caption I later posted? Sometimes the best love story is the one you write alone. It didn't take long for the video to go viral. I didn't post it, not at first. Someone from the party did. Maybe one of Tyler's friends. Maybe someone who hated him quietly and saw their opportunity. All I know is that the next morning I woke up to 43 missed calls, dozens of unread messages, and my name trending in a niche corner of TikTok. The caption on the video? She caught her fiancé cheating and exposed him in front of everyone at their engagement party. It had 500,000 views before I even had my morning coffee. Tyler called. And again. And again. Walked. He tried emailing me. Subject lines like, "Please, Hannah. This isn't what you think. We need to talk. Please." I didn't reply to any of them. Not because I didn't have anything to say, I did. But because he didn't deserve another word from me. My DMs, on the other hand, were a firestorm. Strangers praising me. Women calling me a hero. Others sharing their own cheating horror stories. There were interview requests. Brand offers. Even a few talent agencies. My roommate, yes, the real one, Kelsey, made popcorn and said, "You've officially become every girl's revenge fantasy." It was surreal. But beneath the noise, the claps, the applause, there was something else. Something quieter. Pain. Because I hadn't just ended an engagement. I'd ended a part of myself. The part that trusted too easily. That loved blindly. That thought forever was something you could build on charm and a ring. No. I was someone new. 3 days after the party, I went back to our apartment. Not to see him. To pack. He wasn't there, thankfully. I timed it. Waited until I saw on his story that he was at his gym. I took only what was mine. The books, the photos, the clothes. I left the ring, placed it on the kitchen counter beside a note that said, "You'll need this for your next proposal. Try not to lie this time." Petty? Maybe. But satisfying? Absolutely. That night I stayed at Kelsey's place. We ate Thai food in bed, watched true crime, and tried to laugh about everything. "He really said you were a roommate?" she asked. Right. I should have started charging him rent. We laughed, but the truth hung between us. It still hurt. Not because I missed him, but because I missed who I thought he was. There's a special kind of grief that comes with realizing someone never loved you the way you loved them. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's hollow. The next morning I got a knock on the door. I opened it to find Tyler. Unshaven. Exhausted. Holding a bouquet of wilted roses. Of course. "Hannah, please," he started. "You shouldn't be here," I said. "I just want to talk. Just 5 minutes." "Why? So you can lie to my face again?" He looked away, jaw clenched. "It wasn't what it looked like." "Wasn't what it looked like?" I repeated, stunned. "Tyler, You literally told another woman I was just your roommate." I panicked, he said. I didn't know what to say. It was a mistake. A mistake you made for months? He had no response. Just stood there, hands shaking. "You didn't just cheat," I said, voice low. "You lied. Gaslit me. Looked me in the eyes and made me believe I was crazy. I didn't mean to hurt you. But you did." I took a breath. "And now you want what? Forgiveness? Redo? Another chance to manipulate me?" "No," he said quickly. I miss you." That hit something in me. Not because I believed it, but because I realized this man standing in front of me still didn't get it. He thought this was about love. About a breakup. He didn't realize it was about respect. About dignity. About the moment I chose myself over his nonsense. "I hope one day," I said, "you figure out how to be someone worth missing." And I shut the door. Later that day I saw a message request on Instagram. From Jess. "Jess, I didn't know about you. I swear. He told me you were his ex. That you still lived together for financial reasons. I'm so sorry. I feel like a complete idiot." I stared at the message for a long time. It would have been easy to hate her. To blame her. But deep down I knew she'd been played too. So I replied. "Me. You weren't the idiot. He was just really good at lying. Take care of yourself." He heart reacted. And that was it. Over the next few weeks my life shifted. I moved into a new apartment. Took a break from dating. Started writing again, stories, essays, thoughts I hadn't shared in years. And I started saying yes. To myself. To peace. To healing. I even agreed to do a podcast interview. One of the first ones that reached out after the video blew up. The host introduced me as the woman who taught the internet how to walk away with style. I laughed but corrected her. "I didn't walk away with style," I said. "I walked away with the truth. And sometimes, that's enough." Fame, or whatever you want to call it, is strange. One day you're just a girl who caught a cheating fiancé. The next, you're answering DMs from verified accounts, watching edits of yourself on TikTok and trying to figure out how you became a symbol. I didn't ask for it. But I also didn't run from it. Because somewhere between the podcasts and blog mentions I realized something. My story wasn't just mine anymore. It was speaking for women who never got to speak for themselves. 2 months passed after the party. In that time I changed. Not dramatically. I didn't dye my hair or adopt a new personality. But I got quieter inside. More intentional. I stopped jumping at every notification. Stopped scrolling for meaning in strangers' opinions. I started doing yoga again. Started journaling. I even picked up boxing, which, believe me, felt incredible after everything I'd been through. But I wasn't numb. I still had moments, late at night, where I'd stare at the ceiling and wonder if he ever actually loved me. Or if I'd just been a character in his fantasy, disposable the second the plot shifted. One afternoon I was at a local cafe, sipping my iced matcha and typing out a piece for a women's magazine when I got a text from Kelsey. "Kelsey, you're gonna want to see this." Attached, a screenshot. Tyler's Instagram post. A black and white photo of him sitting alone on a beach. Some mistakes can't be undone. All I can do is learn, grow, and become someone better. For her. For myself. "I still love you." I nearly spit out my drink. But after everything? After the lies, the betrayal, the gaslighting? I wanted to be angry. But mostly I felt embarrassed for him. The comments were a mixed bag. Man up and win her back. She deserves better. Respect for owning your mistake. And then one stood out. Didn't you sleep with her best friend? That part made me pause. Because, what? Jess wasn't my best friend. She was barely an acquaintance. What was that comment about? Later that night I brought it up to Kelsey. "Do you remember anyone else Tyler was close to during our relationship?" I asked. She raised an eyebrow. "Besides the walking red flag in the red dress?" "Not really." One of the comments on his post mentioned my best friend. Said he cheated with her. "But, I'm your best friend," Kelsey said, only half joking. "And I sure as hell didn't hook up with him." We laughed, but it stuck with me. Something about it didn't feel random. The next day I got another DM. This time from an anonymous account. No profile pic. No bio. Just this. "He was with Megan too. Check her phone if you don't believe me." My stomach dropped. Megan. We'd grown up together. gone to college together. She was the maid of honor I never got to appoint. Could it be true? I wanted to ignore it. Tell myself it was a troll. A sick joke. But the way Tyler lied before, so easily, so smoothly, I couldn't just dismiss it. So I texted Megan. Hey, random question. Have you talked to Tyler at all since the breakup? No reply for hours. Then, Megan, hey, can we talk in person? And that's when I knew. We met the next afternoon at a quiet park. She looked nervous, eyes darting, hands twisting in her lap. You're not crazy, she said softly. It happened. I didn't move. Didn't blink. When? I asked. Twice. A few months before the engagement. It was stupid. I was drunk and he made it sound like you two were falling apart. That you were only staying together for appearances. I felt like I was watching a movie. Like I'd left my body. Why didn't you tell me? Because I knew how much you loved him. And I hated myself for being part of the lie. I figured if you never found out it wouldn't hurt you. But I did find out. And it did hurt. He started crying. I didn't. Because the tears? They were done. I'd already mourned Tyler. But Megan? That was new grief. That was betrayal layered on betrayal. I need time, I said simply. I understand, she whispered. And I walked away. Back at home I sat alone in the dark. No music. No distractions. Just me and the truth. Tyler hadn't just broken my heart. He'd shattered my trust in everyone around me. But in that quiet I made a choice. This wasn't going to be the story that defined me. It would be the story that refined me. I grabbed my laptop, opened a blank document, and started writing. They thought I'd stay silent. They thought I'd move on quietly. But what they didn't realize was that some women don't break. They burn brighter. I used to think the worst thing that could happen in a relationship was being cheated on. I was wrong. The worst thing is realizing the person who held your heart was never who they claimed to be. That the version of them you loved, the one you fought for, cried over, believed in, didn't exist. He wasn't real. He was a carefully constructed lie. One he used over and over again. And I wasn't his first target. After Megan's betrayal I shut down. Not just from her, from almost everyone. I still remember the way she looked at me when I asked, why? She didn't cry. She didn't deny it. She didn't even flinch. That was the part that hurt the most. Her silence wasn't guilt. It was indifference. She walked out of my life that night and I didn't try to stop her. But the silence that followed wasn't empty. It was focus. Because what started as heartbreak was evolving into something else entirely. A hunt for the truth. That's when the message came. It was a DM buried in my request inbox. Emily, I saw your story. I knew Tyler once. Before you. We should talk. At first I thought it was a troll. Someone fishing for gossip. But something about the tone, quiet, direct, not dramatic, made me pause. I clicked her profile. Private. No posts. A blank bio. But her profile photo showed just enough of her face to make my heart twist. She looked familiar. I replied. Are you saying you dated him? Emily, yes. And if you're who I think you are, he lied to you about everything. We met 2 days later at a used bookstore cafe in the next city over. I picked the place, public but quiet, safe. I didn't know what I was walking into and I'd learned by now not to trust blindly. When Emily walked in I recognized her instantly. She was beautiful but there was a heaviness behind her eyes. Kind of worn down calm. Like someone who had learned to hold herself together even when the world came apart. She sat across from me. No small talk. No warm-up. Thank you for meeting me, she said. Just tell me the truth, I replied. And she did. For the next 2 hours she told me everything. She and Tyler had dated almost 3 years before I met him. At first he was perfect, romantic, attentive, almost too good to be true. Because he was. He started isolating me, she said. Slowly. Made me question my friends. Turned every disagreement into a guilt trip. Said I was too sensitive. That I was imagining things. I listened, my chest tightening. Then the jealousy started. He wanted to know where I was at all times. Who I was with. He'd say it was love, that he just cared. But it was control. I remembered those exact words coming out of his mouth to me. You should check him more often, babe. Not because I don't trust you, because I worry. It always sounded sweet. Until it didn't. He cheated on me 3 times that I know of, Emily continued. And the last time, it was with my cousin. I looked up sharply. My best friend, I said quietly. Emily gave me a small, sad smile. He likes to destroy the whole foundation. Not just the relationship. Your support system. Your self-worth. He breaks everything. She reached into her bag and handed me a flash drive. Messages. Screenshots. Voicemails. From our time together. I held on to them, not because I wanted revenge, but because I wanted proof I wasn't crazy. And you think he's done this to others? I know he has. At least 3 women I've talked to. And more who won't come forward. She paused, then added. He proposed to me too, Hannah. That stopped me cold. Wait, what? 6 months before he ghosted me. It was a ring from a pawn shop. Said it was his grandmother's. I found the receipt in his coat pocket. I blinked. I remembered the ring Tyler gave me. How he said it was his grandmother's. The tear in his eye as he told the story. Why? A recycled story. A performance. Why are you telling me this now? I asked. Because you're the first one who went public. You didn't just walk away, you exposed him. And I think you're the only one who might be able to stop him. That night I didn't sleep. I sat on my bedroom floor watching the clock replaying Emily's words again and again. My heart wasn't broken anymore. It was on fire. Because now it wasn't just about me. Or Megan. Or some messy breakup. This was a pattern. He was a predator. I opened the flash drive. Clicked through the files. And there they were. Voice memos where Tyler mocked his exes. Messages where he coordinated meetups behind Emily's back. One email. To a woman named D. The subject line read, "You'll get your payment. Just keep her away from me." And that's when I realized. He hadn't just cheated. He had paid someone off. The next morning I called Kelsey. She listened in silence as I explained everything. When I was done, her voice was low and steady. Okay, she said. Then we take this higher. No more social posts. We go legal. We go press. We go loud. Not yet, I said. There's more. I can feel it. He's still hiding something. Like what? I don't know. But I'm going to find out. And I did. Because 5 days later I got another message. This time from a burner email. Subject, you're not the first girl he's paid to disappear. Attached? A spreadsheet. No context. Just rows and rows of payment history. Payouts labeled offshore adjustment, PR clearance, consulting. But everyone traced back to Tyler's old job. I remembered how he always said he worked in finance-adjacent strategy. Something vague. Something slick. Something I never really understood. But now. It looked like money laundering. Bribes. Hush money. Payoffs. And somehow my name was on that spreadsheet. Under risk level, high. That was the moment I stopped being the girl who got cheated on. I became the woman who was about to end him. I sat at my kitchen table for hours staring at the spreadsheet. I had my laptop open, coffee cold beside me, and a dozen sticky notes scattered with names, arrows, amounts. I felt like I was living inside one of those conspiracy shows where everything starts out crazy, and then ends up true. Tyler had paid people off. That much was clear. But what chilled me more was the line with my name on it. Risk level, high. Payment status, pending. Alias, H. I remember whispering out loud to myself. He planned for this. He anticipated fallout. He knew I'd dig. Knew I'd fight back. And he had a system in place. People, money, strategies. To get rid of the mess once it got loud. Except this time it was too loud. Because I wasn't alone anymore. I had Emily. I had Kelsey. I'd have an army. That night I gathered every piece of evidence we had. The messages, emails, voice memos, even screenshots from other victims who were finally brave enough to come forward. We created a shared drive called the archive, locked with multiple passwords, backed up 3 times, and ready to hand to a lawyer the second anything felt off. Kelsey's roommate was a paralegal and she agreed to help us quietly. Emily contacted 2 other women, Rachel and Danielle, both of whom had almost identical stories. Charm, control, isolation, infidelity, ghosting, and emotional abuse. Danielle had even filed a police report a year ago, but it went nowhere. Tyler convinced the cops she was mentally unstable and harassing him after a consensual relationship ended. He even got a restraining order against her. She had no one to defend her then. But now, she had us. I wish I could say I felt brave through all of this. But honestly, I was terrified. Every time my phone buzzed, I flinched. I checked my locks twice. I started avoiding walking alone at night. Not because I thought Tyler would physically hurt me, but because I didn't know how deep his reach went. If he could pay off friends, influence cops, manipulate therapists, what else was he capable of? That fear nearly paralyzed me. Until something shifted. It happened on a Tuesday. I was at a local cafe working through edits for a freelance job when I looked up, and there he was. Tyler. Standing at the register like nothing had happened. Like we hadn't exposed him. Like he wasn't the center of a storm about to destroy him. Our eyes locked. And he smiled. Not a warm smile. Not a nervous one. No. It was the same arrogant, calculating smirk I'd seen the night he proposed. The one he wore when he knew he still had control. He walked toward me like he owned the floor beneath him. "Hannah," he said like we were old friends. "Didn't expect to see you here." I didn't respond. "Still playing detective?" he added. "You always were good at making drama feel important." I felt my blood go cold. "I know what you've done," I said quietly. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Then you know how this ends. You back off. You delete whatever little story you think you've written. And you walk away with your pride intact." I said nothing. "If you don't," he continued, "I promise you, the version of this that goes public won't make you the hero." He left his number on a napkin and walked away like nothing had happened. That was the last straw. The fear, the panic, the weight of it all, it broke in that moment. But as I realized, I was already living my worst nightmare. He'd already lied, already cheated, already humiliated me. There was nothing left to lose. But for the first time, I had something to win. The next day we sent the full file to a reporter Emily trusted. A woman who specialized in exposing powerful men with long histories of manipulation and abuse. She responded within hours. "This is bigger than just a cheating scandal," she said. "This is coercive control. This is financial fraud. This is a pattern. And I want to tell your story." We gave her everything. The reporter met with Danielle. Then Rachel. Then Emily. She verified the spreadsheet with a forensic accountant. She contacted Tyler for comment. He denied it all, of course. Called it an elaborate smear campaign by bitter exes. But it was too late. Because 48 hours later the story went live. And the internet exploded. Hashtags trended. Victims came forward. More than we ever expected. There were women from college, from old jobs, even from other cities. People who recognized the lies. The manipulation. The calculated cruelty. Tyler went silent online. His accounts disappeared. His company issued a statement saying he was on leave. The police reopened Danielle's case. The reporter filed a follow-up with new names. Me. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt released. Not because I'd destroyed him, but because I'd finally reclaimed myself. But just when I thought it was over, I got one last message. From an unknown number. "You think Tyler was the only one. You don't know the full story. Meet me. I'll show you what he was really hiding." Attached was a photo. Not of Tyler. But of me from 3 years ago. Taken through a window. Smiling. With someone's arm around my waist. Someone I didn't recognize. And suddenly, the revenge wasn't over. It was just beginning. At first I thought it was a mistake. The photo that came through my phone couldn't be real. It was me, 3 years ago, standing at the window of my old apartment. I was smiling, coffee in one hand, the other arm wrapped around someone tall, wearing a dark gray hoodie. His face was turned slightly, obscured by shadow. I zoomed in. My smile was relaxed. Comfortable. I looked genuinely happy. But the man in the photo? I didn't recognize him. Not at all. And that's what terrified me. Because if I didn't remember him, why did he have a photo of me? And more importantly, why did someone just send it to me with the message? "You think Tyler was the only one. Meet me. I'll show you what he was really hiding." I stared at the message for a long time, my fingers trembling slightly above the screen. The sender had used a burner number. No name. No location. No instructions beyond "meet me." But there was something else in the message. Something I hadn't noticed right away. The file name of the photo. IMGTG001. Tyler Grant. Suddenly this wasn't about me. This was about them. About people connected to Tyler that I hadn't even known existed. And whoever was contacting me had access to files. I didn't respond right away. Instead I called Emily. She picked up on the second ring. Hey, you okay? I just got a message, I said. Someone sent me a photo from 3 years ago. Me, and someone I don't recognize. I forwarded it to her. There was a pause on the line. Wait, she said slowly. That's your old apartment, right? That's not far from. She stopped. Then cursed under her breath. What? Hannah. I think I do recognize him. The guy in the hoodie. My chest tightened. Who is he? She took a deep breath. His name's Nate. Nathan Becker. He used to work with Tyler at that shell consulting company, the one he used for the fake offshore payments. And why would I be in a photo with him? Because Tyler used to plant people. Plant. He'd send people to get close to women he was watching. To gather dirt. See who they were talking to. What they were saying about him. I didn't want to believe it when I heard. But if Nate got close to you. My stomach turned. So I wasn't just being watched? You were being studied. That night I didn't sleep. I sat in bed scrolling through old photos, old posts, even my phone contacts, trying to find a clue. A memory. A name that matched. Nothing. Until I found a random contact saved under the name Nick B. No photo. Just a number I hadn't texted in years. I opened the last message. Nick B. March 3, 2022. Had a great time today. You've got the kindest smile. Let's grab coffee again soon. That was the same week the photo was taken. I tried to remember him. I vaguely recalled meeting someone through a coworker. Casual coffee. We never dated, nothing serious. But it felt oddly timed. Was Nick B. actually Nate Becker? Had I unknowingly gone for coffee with one of Tyler's spies? Suddenly, every interaction from that season of my life started to feel warped. Contaminated. Was I ever truly alone? Or was someone always watching, reporting, recording? I responded to the message. Where do you want to meet? The reply came instantly. Friday. 10 p.m., Eastover Park. Come alone. No address. No details. Just a place that barely had streetlights. I knew it was risky. But I also knew something else. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. This wasn't just about heartbreak or betrayal. It was bigger. There were systems in place. Money. Surveillance. People who were complicit in Tyler's games. People like Nate or Nick, or whatever his real name was. And if I didn't go, I'd never know the whole truth. So I made a plan. I told Kelsey everything. She insisted on coming, but I refused. I needed to be alone, not because I was brave, but because whoever this was clearly had rules. If I broke them, I might lose everything. So I gave Kelsey my location. She stayed on standby. And I wore a mic. A tiny recorder tucked under my hoodie, capturing every sound. Because if this went sideways, I wanted evidence. Friday night. 10:03 p.m. I stood under the flickering street lamp in Eastover Park, my heart thudding so hard I could feel it in my ears. The air was cool and damp, fog creeping between the trees. Then I saw him. A tall figure stepped out from the shadows near the benches. Black hoodie, face mostly hidden. He walked toward me slowly, cautiously. Hannah, he asked. Depends, I said. Who are you? He pulled back the hood. I gasped. It was Nick. The guy from Coffee. From 2022. The guy I'd completely forgotten about, until now. You remember me now, he said. You worked for Tyler. He didn't deny it. Why? I asked. Why did you pretend to like me? I didn't pretend. At first, yes, it was just a job. But then, I stopped reporting. I backed out. He didn't like that. I narrowed my eyes. You're telling me you turned on him? He's dangerous, Hannah. What he's doing, what he's been doing for years. It's not just manipulation. It's blackmail. Entrapment. In some cases, worse. Worse. He handed me a USB drive. There are names on there. People who paid him. People he silenced. People who never came back. My skin prickled. You mean? I mean, Tyler's not just a liar. He's a predator. And I think someone's protecting him. Higher up. The moment your story went public, there were internal wipes. Documents erased. Accounts closed. This is bigger than you know. I stared at the drive. Why give this to me? Because he's scared of you. And if he's scared, it means you're close to ending this. He turned to walk away. Wait, what happens if I open this? What if it puts me in danger? He looked back. You were in danger the moment you loved him. And then he disappeared into the fog. When I got home, I didn't sleep. I stared at the drive for hours before finally inserting it into my laptop. Hundreds of files. Transaction records. Emails. Hidden camera screenshots. Names I recognized and some I didn't. A folder marked assets, in progress with dates and faces. And at the top of the list, I didn't leave my apartment for 3 days. The USB drive haunted me. I barely ate. Barely slept. My laptop stayed open, files covering the screen like tiny windows into other people's nightmares. But the worst part wasn't what I found. It was realizing how much I didn't know. Inside that folder marked assets, in progress, there were 10 names. 10 women. Each with a date, a brief psychological profile, and a list of vulnerabilities. Divorce history. Family debt. Prior trauma. A few had photos. Selfies, headshots, even scanned ID cards. My name was at the top. Under it was a file labeled HGR Blueprint. I opened it, and what I saw made my blood run cold. It was a detailed outline. Bullet points. Steps. Every single interaction between me and Tyler. Mapped out before they even happened. Stage 1. Compliment. Casual encounters. Eye contact. Stage 2. Mirroring interests. Subtle touch. Hook. Stage 3. Emotional vulnerability. Reveal half-truth. Solidify trust. Stage 4. Dependency. Social isolation. Undermine friendships. Stage 5. Withholding. Manipulate. Begin discredit phase. Final. Disengage. Destroy credibility. Introduce narrative. Each line felt like a scar opening again. My relationship had been a performance. Not just a betrayal, a project. I was never loved. I was built into someone who could be discarded and discredited. And the sickest part? He'd done it before. To others. Possibly, to worse ends. I reached out to Emily, Kelsey, and Danielle. We met at a co-working space Kelsey used sometimes. Neutral ground. Quiet. Secure. I showed them everything. Danielle went pale when she saw her own name in the archives expunged folder. He said no one would believe me, she whispered. He said I was just another unstable ex. He recorded my panic attacks and told people I was unhinged. He planned all of it, I said. Even us. Every kiss, every gift. It was part of a calculated path. Emily leaned forward, voice sharp. We need to go public again. Bigger. Louder. We will, I said. But not just with a story this time. Proof. Enough to destroy him and whoever's protecting him. That night I dug deeper. There was a hidden subfolder in the USB marked White Orchid. I almost didn't open it. But curiosity won. Inside were records of transactions. Money moving in and out of an LLC registered in Nevada. Except it wasn't a business. It was a cover. The payments matched dates where women had disappeared from Tyler's life. Just like Danielle. Just like Rachel. Just like someone named Brielle Sutton. I didn't recognize the name. But there was a photo. And my heart stopped. It was the same woman from a news article I'd read years ago. A case that went cold. Brielle had vanished after quitting her job, claiming she was leaving to find peace. But friends had insisted she wasn't suicidal. She wasn't depressed. Just different. Paranoid. Isolated. Frantic. She was one of Tyler's exes. And she hadn't been seen since. I contacted the reporter who'd first broken our story. She was already digging, she said. Turns out my file wasn't the only one she'd received. Someone's leaking from the inside, she said. Someone close to Tyler is done protecting him. You think it's Nate? Maybe. Or someone higher up. Either way, they want this exposed, but only if it's done right. They're watching what you do next. That word again. Watching. Always watching. The next morning I found an envelope taped to my door. No name. No address. Inside was a single printed note. Go to Unit 306. Storage Depot. Ask no questions. Bring the drive. Come alone. I felt the fear crawl under my skin again, like cold hands pressing against my back. But I went anyway. Unit 306 was in a rundown storage facility on the edge of the city. The kind of place where no one asked questions and every third door had a padlock rusted shut. I walked slowly, checking over my shoulder. When I reached the unit, the door was slightly ajar. Inside, a laptop. Webcam blinking. A voice crackled through a speaker. You're brave, it said. Most people would have disappeared by now. Who are you? Let's just say I used to be what Nate was. Until I wasn't. Until I saw how deep it really went. How many are there? I asked. How many people has he hurt? Too many. And he won't stop. Not unless you expose everything. The files, the payments, the women he silenced. But there's one thing missing. What? The vault. My throat went dry. What vault? The one Tyler doesn't talk about. The one that holds the real evidence. Videos. Recordings. Things that would destroy him in a heartbeat. Where is it? Off-site. Password protected. But I can get you in, if you're willing to go where it lives. Where's that? Tyler's lake house. Took me a moment to breathe again. I remembered the house. Remote. Beautiful. A place he once promised we'd honeymoon. Turns out, it was a cage. I returned home silent. Calm on the outside. Shaking on the inside. I sent the location to Kelsey and Emily. Told them to call the cops if they didn't hear from me in 6 hours. I packed one bag, my laptop, my phone, and one thing I hadn't touched in years. My father's old camera. Because I wasn't just going to find that vault. I was going to record what I found. And I was going to destroy Tyler with his own secrets. As I drove toward the lake house, trees blurred past me like ghosts. I thought of every woman whose story had been buried. Every red flag I ignored. Every smile Tyler had used as a weapon. I wasn't just seeking revenge anymore. I was hunting a monster. And by the time the sun rose the next morning, he'd know exactly what it feels like to be exposed. I used to think that the worst feeling in the world was heartbreak. But heartbreak has a beginning and an end. It aches. It bruises. Then it fades. What I felt walking up the gravel path to Tyler's lake house wasn't heartbreak. It was fear. Deep ancient fear. The kind that burrows under your skin and whispers, if you go inside you may not come back out. But I kept walking. Because I wasn't here for closure. I was here for proof. The lake house hadn't changed. Same modern wood and glass exterior. Same silver lock on the door. Same damn swing hanging lazily from the maple tree beside the porch, where Tyler once promised me forever. I had the keys. I'd stolen them from his jacket months ago when we were still together. I never returned them. I slipped one in the lock. The door clicked open. The air inside was stale. Untouched. Like it had been waiting for me. Or maybe, for someone like me. I stepped inside slowly. The living room was pristine. Like a vacation rental frozen in time. Blankets neatly folded. Fireplace logs stacked. The same gray couch I once napped on with my head in Tyler's lap. But now I walked through the house like a stranger. Room by room I searched. Nothing obvious. No hidden doors. No safes behind paintings. Then I reached the study. There was a sleek, locked cabinet built into the wall behind the desk. Almost invisible if you didn't know where to look. It didn't have a keyhole. It had a biometric scanner. Fingerprint access. My stomach dropped. I pressed my thumb against it on impulse, half hoping he'd once added me. Nothing. The screen blinked red. Access denied. I stepped back. Panic started to rise. Until I remembered the voice from the storage unit. I can get you in, if you're willing to go where it lives. Had he meant this place literally, or had there been another layer? I looked around. On the desk was a small ceramic box. Inside, nothing but a pen and an envelope labeled for R. I didn't know who R was. But curiosity got the better of me. Inside the envelope was a photograph. Old, torn at the edges. Tyler as a teenager standing next to a man I didn't recognize. Both of them in front of a metal door, smiling, holding up a small silver key. Behind them, a vault. A real one. Industrial. Suddenly I knew this cabinet wasn't the real vault. This was a decoy. The real one was somewhere else. And the photo had a location scrawled on the back in faded ink. Whitaker Farm. Building C. Lower level. I didn't recognize it, but I Googled it. A decommissioned property in northern Vermont. Old farmland bought up and abandoned by a shell company 6 years ago. I checked the USB drive again. That property? Registered under Orchid Holdings LC, one of Tyler's cover businesses. I couldn't believe it. He actually had a physical vault. Not just a hard drive. Not just encrypted folders. A place where he hid the ugliest parts of his empire. And I had the map to it. I left the lake house before dark. I didn't stay to sleep. I couldn't. I felt like the walls were watching me. Listening. Like Tyler had laced the place with ghosts of his own making. The drive to Vermont took 5 hours. I arrived just after midnight. There was no moon. Just the crunch of my boots on the gravel road, the broken fence, the flickering security light that buzzed over the crumbling barn labeled C. I wasn't alone. Kelsey and Emily were parked down the road, hidden in her car, waiting with live location tracking and a burner phone. If anything happened to me, they would go to the police, with the drive, the files, the photos. Everything. I was scared. Of course I was. But I wasn't helpless. Not anymore. Inside the barn it was pitch black. I had a flashlight and it barely cut through the dust. A collapsed table. Rotten crates. The distant sound of something scurrying under the floorboards. But in the far corner, I saw it. A metal door. Set into the ground. With a keycard panel. I pulled out the small silver key I'd found tucked behind Tyler's old photo in the lake house. On a whim I slid it into the side panel. The door creaked open. Stairs descended into a hidden basement. And the air that rushed up from it was cold. So cold it felt like I'd opened a freezer full of old secrets. The room at the bottom was no bigger than a garage. But every wall was lined with file cabinets, shelves, storage drives. Surveillance gear. And in the center? A chair. One chair. With leather restraints. And a camera bolted to the ceiling above it. I felt nausea rise in my throat. I wasn't just standing in a vault. I was standing in a room designed to extract confessions. Or create them. Tyler hadn't just blackmailed people. He had filmed them. There were dozens of labeled drives. Each marked with initials and dates. I scanned them, my hands shaking. BS 2020. RT 2021. DP 2022. HR 2023. That last one. My initials. I pulled the drive. Slid it into the laptop on the nearby desk. It opened immediately. And what I saw broke me. Clips of me. At the lake house. In the shower. On the phone. Crying. Moments I thought were private. Moments that had been watched, stored, filed. He'd been preparing to ruin me. Maybe not right away. Maybe not while I was still under his spell. But one day, when I became inconvenient, I took everything. Every drive. Every file. Every photo. I uploaded them all to a cloud server and set a timed release to the reporter if I went dark. And then I did the one thing Tyler never expected. I told the whole truth. Myself. I went live. No edits. No dramatic music. No hidden agenda. Just me. Sitting on the floor of that cold metal room. Telling the world everything. How I met Tyler. How he broke me. How I broke free. How many of us he tried to bury. And how we were done being quiet. Within 24 hours the story exploded. National news. Investigations. Subpoenas. Former victims coming forward. Tyler went into hiding. But it didn't matter. Because the truth was finally louder than his silence. And for the first time in months, I could breathe. They say the truth sets you free. But they never talk about what it destroys first. After the vault, the files, and the video I released, everything changed. But it didn't feel like freedom. Not right away. Felt like chaos. Explosive, unrelenting chaos. I remember sitting alone in my apartment the night the video went viral. The screen flickered with comment after comment. Some in disbelief. Some angry. Some grateful. Some even skeptical, calling me a liar, a bitter ex, an attention seeker. But most were people who saw what I showed and said, this happened to me too. And that's when I knew, this wasn't just my story anymore. It belonged to everyone who had been hurt by men like Tyler. Charming, brilliant, sociopathic men who knew how to wear masks better than the people around them knew how to detect them. In the days after the video, more victims came forward. A former intern who worked for one of Tyler's consulting firms. A journalist who had tried to write about him once and received a threatening cease and desist. A woman he dated in another city who fled across state lines after he destroyed her career with one email. Their voices amplified mine. Their testimonies stacked like bricks on a crumbling wall, exposing the foundation of everything Tyler built. He wasn't just a manipulator in love. He was a calculated predator in life. But despite the overwhelming evidence, the recordings, the bank transfers, the testimonies, the drives, Tyler didn't face justice immediately. He disappeared. Vanished like smoke. No transactions. No cell signals. No passport activity. Not even a whisper. There were rumors, of course, that he'd gone to Mexico or Dubai, or some private island owned by a silent investor. I didn't care where he was. I cared about when he'd strike again. Because I knew Tyler. He didn't run because he was afraid of prison. He ran because he was planning his next move. And that terrified me more than anything. For nearly 3 weeks I barely slept. I jumped at every knock, froze at every blocked call. Emily and Kelsey stayed close. We created a live location network, had a lawyer on call, and made sure multiple reporters had access to everything I found. If I disappeared, there'd be no covering it up. That was the one weapon I had left. Exposure. But then came the call. Anonymous tip. Cayman Islands. A small estate owned under a fake name connected to one of Tyler's dormant shell companies. When authorities raided it, they found him, disoriented, dehydrated, alone, and armed with a briefcase full of fake IDs and burner phones. He was brought back in handcuffs. That image, Tyler being walked through an airport with a jacket pulled over his head, trying to hide from cameras, played on every news channel for days. People couldn't believe it. But I could. Because that's who he really was. A coward dressed in genius. What followed was months of legal proceedings. At first his defense team tried everything. Denial. Insanity. Claims of manipulated evidence. But every time they made a move, we were one step ahead. We had the paper trail. The psychological reports. The patterns. The digital fingerprints. Then the real bombshell hit. The FBI unsealed documents showing that Tyler had sold psychological profiling packages to third parties. Not just companies, individuals. He offered services where he could evaluate a person's psychological vulnerabilities and provide strategies to manipulate, break, or control them. Like some twisted version of psychological warfare. He was essentially running a dark business of emotional assassination. And I had walked right into his arms at my most fragile. During one court hearing, I sat across from him. He didn't look at me, not once. His face was blank, void of emotion. He didn't even flinch when they played clips from the footage he'd taken of me without my knowledge. Not in the shower. Not while I cried in his kitchen. Not during my most private moments. He just stared straight ahead. Like I was already erased. But I wasn't. I was very much alive. And the court saw that too. After weeks of deliberation, Tyler was sentenced to 18 years in federal prison. No chance of parole before 12. Additional charges from other states were still pending. The judge called him a master of psychological cruelty, and said the case would set a new precedent in digital manipulation law. It should have felt like victory. But all I felt was tired. Not just physically. Soul tired. Because you don't survive someone like Tyler without losing pieces of yourself along the way. And even though justice was served, the cost was high. My privacy was gone. My relationships strained. My sense of safety permanently fractured. But something else rose from the ashes. Clarity. I started hearing from women across the world. Strangers who watched my story and said, "Now I understand what happened to me." People who thought they were crazy or overreacting or just not strong enough. They weren't crazy. They were targeted. And I made it my mission to help them see that. I partnered with survivor networks. Started a podcast. Spoke at universities. Shared my experience not just to relive it, but to reclaim it. Because I wasn't a victim anymore. I was an author. Writing my own ending. And helping others write theirs too. Now when I wake up I still hear echoes. But they don't scare me anymore. They remind me that I lived. That I survived. That I burned but didn't break. And if you're still listening, if you made it all the way through this story, Please understand something. This isn't just about me. It's about the thousands of people who are still trapped in the shadows of someone else's manipulation. Who are still being gaslit, erased, twisted into silence. Who don't know that what they're feeling is real and that it matters. You don't have to wait for a breaking point to take your power back. You don't need permission to speak. You are allowed to tell your story. Even if your voice shakes. Especially if it shakes. Because the moment you speak, you become louder than the person who tried to silence you. So if this story meant something to you, if it opened your eyes, if it helped you name something you felt but couldn't explain, then I ask you to do one thing. Like the video. Subscribe to this channel and turn on the bell notification. Not because I need the numbers, but because we need each other. There are more stories out there. More truths to uncover. More voices to lift. And we're just getting started. Thank you for listening. I'm Hannah. And this was my story.